in the earlier days, in the very early 70s, I was involved with a place that I call the Ice Palace out at Cherry Grove, Fire Island. And when I opened that, you couldn't dance. Two boys couldn't dance together. You had to have a woman with you. There would be two guys and one woman, and that would be allowed on the dance floor. And the police would make sure that you had a guard there watching you. So you couldn't have a whole dance floor filled with men. So we've come a long ways.
But discotheques in the 70s, as what I experienced for the first time, by then had become the prime social gathering place for the gay community. And I started going out in 1973, and by 1975, when I first moved to New York for summertime work, it was already refined to these huge all-night clubs.
This is where they wanted to be on a Saturday night. They would go to the other clubs during the week. You would hit the Jardin and Hippopotamus and the clubs with other friends and with your quote girlfriends. But on the weekends you went here. This is here. This is where your buddies. This is where you're going to find your boyfriend, your fuck buddy, your date, your pals. This is where you danced in a circle. This is where you took your drugs and felt safe. This is where you knew that if you went at 12 o'clock at night or 4 o'clock in the morning, you would find the people that you wanted to be with.
And there were clubs like Flamingo and Crisco Disco and giant gay discos. Some of them became so hot and fabulous that people would pretend to be gay to get into them, or they would go with their gay friends to get in. And I think even Lee Radziwill was seen at 12 West. Maybe even her sister Jackie O, I'm not sure. But celebrities of that caliber were trying to get into the gay clubs just because there was such a vibe, there was such a buzz around them at the time, and it was just a purely happy place.
I mean, the Saint was the last, really, of several major clubs that were very exclusively gay and were very chic, so to speak.
But that journey over the decade of the 70s, I would say, from probably 71 to 81, as far as the real important development of the dance form, was just, it was huge. Changes were very fast forthcoming, and it never really stayed static. It was always alive and advancing itself.
It was on Lower Broadway, just above Houston Street. It was up a flight of steps, 2 flights of steps actually. And you went into this darkened space, and you stayed for 4 solid hours. And honestly, you basically danced for 4 solid hours, never stopped. The thing that was incredible about what David put together, it was this unified group of people who went out every Saturday night into this person's house, and it felt just like a house party.
The 10th floor was a nice small club in the early 70s. It started around 71 or 72. And you actually had to walk up 10 flights of stairs because it was on the 10th floor. The elevator never worked. The membership that I had, a lot of it was at the 10th floor. And that was the same people that I knew from Fire Island.
It became very successful. It was great, but it was a very small place, very limited, but everyone knew each other. There were maybe 300 or 400 people, and everybody knew each other.
It was a clean, I wouldn't say well-lighted place, most of a colored lighted place with, a polyurethane floor, not much else, and a DJ booth in the center, and that was it. And you danced. There was no production. There was no production value.
But the music was great, and you could go and stay forever and after hours, and people were always wondering about the cops outside and all of that. There was still a little bit of mystery and a little. It was always a little scary.
Then Flamingo came about.
The club that probably is the sort of highlight, of gay life during this era is Flamingo.
There hadn't been a club like it before. There had not been clubs. There have been beautiful straight clubs, but there was never a gay club like Flamingo. It was in its size, in its attitude. At the time when it opened, it was the most spectacular, biggest club that ever did open. But in comparison, after 7 years later, when the Saint opened, oh my God, it was like Rose Bowl. The Saint was so spectacular. But the truth of the matter is, Flamingo did have, at that time, the cream of the crop in the gay world. The architects, the artists, the painters, the designers, and of course, the hottest men in town all were in Flamingo.
And then, of course, the whole disco scene exploded with the arrival of Studio 54. And Studio 54 was that sort of magical moment, I suppose, in New York history when it became completely and utterly irrelevant whether you were gay, straight, convertible, confused, whatever. As long as you were fun, attractive, beautiful, who knows what, they let you in, and you had the most incredible time at this incredible club, which some nights there were 5, 6, 7,000 people standing outside screaming to be let in.
Gay people didn't wait outside to get in. I don't ever remember waiting 30 seconds outside. Mark Beneke could smell a gay person and let you right in the door. And yes, and then everybody else came, and how fabulous. And it was a combination of one, how fabulous to go watch the gay boy dance, and how safe to do it at Studio 54, because nobody could ever accuse you of being gay because you were at 54.
I mean, sometimes it was a bit ridiculous when Liza Minnelli and Liz Taylor would be fighting over a microphone and they were just jabbering. Or Bianca Jagger spraying champagne on the crowd. But that was the atmosphere of that place. It was just about nonsense and insanity, decadence and innocence.
Studio 54, I think, was its own kind of great legend, and it certainly became the anchor for the celebratory nature that the Saint was going to capture.